Today, we are learning something new, but I want to show you some other stuff. So I'm not going to just dive into this and really explain it. We're going to talk a little bit about it, but I really want to show you some stuff that I think will help you for the test. And I need to show you the instructions about the test as well so that we can look at those and talk about them. All right. So today we're going to be introducing inequality symbols. And so on these inequality symbols, they're a lot like equations with two new rules. And so I will introduce these rules as we get to them. Right now, I'm just going to show you that it's exactly like equations. So just like we would with the equal sign. So you will write down this problem right here, but don't do the graph. We're not going to worry about graphing. So you will write down this, and then we're going to circle our n. And just like we would in an equation, our goal is to get n by itself. So we got to get rid of the minus 4. So we're going to add 4 to both sides. So plus 4 and plus 4. So that will cancel. And we have n is less than or equal to. And then that would be negative 10 plus 4 would be negative 6. And I am going to show you today how to get to the calculator called Desmos. And you can always do these numbers in Desmos. So Desmos is a very good online calculator. All right, so this is our answer right here. So this is just like working equations. It's just now it has this symbol. All right, so we're going to go to this one. So I'll give you a second to write number 2 down. And we are going to circle the m. All right, so this right here is not a fraction bar, it's division. So the opposite of division is to multiply. So we're going to multiply both sides by negative 10. So multiply by negative 10. All right, so here's where our first new rule comes in. So the rule says anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, and this only applies to when you multiply or divide by a negative, then we flip this inequality symbol right here. So we're going to flip this symbol from a less than symbol to a greater than symbol. And it's not that you need to know that it's called that. You just got to make sure that you flip it. Okay, so that's only when we're multiplying or dividing by a negative, then this flips. So then these cancel out, and I'm left with m is greater than, and 16 times negative 10 would give me a negative 160. So notice over here, we never multiplied or divided by a negative, so it never flipped. So I don't want you to start flipping every time that you do something. It's only when we multiply or divide by a negative number. Okay. So I'm going to scoot this down and clear this. All right. So we're looking at this again, and we're going to draw this line right here. And I'm going to circle the K. All right. So same as what we've been doing all along. That K represents the center of an onion. The 7 is right next to it, so it's also in the center. So the outside of the onion would be 63. So we're going to do the opposite and subtract 63 from both sides. And so those will cancel. And 175 minus 63 would be 112 is greater than 7K. All right, and then anytime we've got a number right next to a letter, we're dividing by it. So we're dividing by 7. So those cancel. And 112 divided by 7 would be 16 is greater than K. So now we get to the second rule. So the first rule was if we multiplied or divided by a negative, and that didn't happen here. The second rule is the letter always has to be on the left, and here it's on the right. So we're going to flip this entire thing. And I'm going to put K on this side this is pointing at the K. So when I've got to flip this so that it's still pointing at the K, and then 16, and that's our answer. And the reason we're not worried about graphing is in algebra, we really don't graph. On the STAR test, there's really no graphing of inequalities. So there is graphing, but not graphing of inequalities like this. And so in class, we did this today, but since we have some issues we need to go over online, we're just not going to worry about graphing. All right. So question 4. All right. So we're going to circle our M. And the M is the center of the onion. The 3 is right next to it, so it's also in the center with the M. So the outside of the onion would be the 9. So we're going to minus 9 to both sides. So this cancels out, and we have negative 3M is less than, and then negative 12 minus 9 would be a negative 21. And like I said, I'm going to show you this Desmos calculator that'll be really good for handling stuff like this. So then we're going to divide by negative 3 to both sides. So this cancels, and we got M. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm ADD, and it sometimes slips my mind. We divided by a negative. So when we divide by a negative, immediately we need to flip this because I waited, and when I wait, sometimes I forget. So immediately when we divide by a negative, we need to flip this. So we flip that symbol right there. Now we come back, and 2 negatives make a positive, so that would give us M is greater than 7. All right. I am going to clear this and move it down. All right, so this one, we didn't even put a graphing one. It's a terrible line. All right, so I don't know if you remember the first time I taught this, but we talked about this fraction being like a building. And so these are in the same building together, but this 3 isn't even in the same building. So when we ask which one's the furthest away, it's going to be this 3 because it's not even in the same building. So if this is a negative 3 or minus 3, we're going to add 3. Add 3, add 3. So this cancels. And when I rewrite this, there's this negative here. I'm going to put that negative with a number. I'm going to put it with 2. And I like it with the number because it creates fewer steps. And so if we'd have just left it there or put it with the X, we would have to do more. All right, so we still got our symbol. And negative 7 plus 3 would be negative 4. All right, so now this is division right here. So to get rid of it, we're going to times. We're going to times both of these by negative 2. We multiplied by a negative, so immediately we have to flip this inequality symbol. So we're going to flip the inequality symbol because we divided by a negative 2. These negative 2's cancel out, leaving me with X is less than negative 4 times negative 2. 2 negatives make a positive 8. All right, so I am going to, like I said, teach you a little trick today with things that have all the same letter, but this does not have the same letter. So unfortunately, when there's an X and a Y, we have to work this out. And we've been talking about how this is important, and we've been doing a lot of these. So we're going to get Y by itself, and there's always 2 steps, and the first step is always get rid of the X. So if this is a negative 3X, we're going to add 3X. So plus 3X and plus 3X. So those cancel. And we have 7Y is equal to, all right, we can never combine these right here. And we like to put the X up front when there's just numbers right there. So we're going to put 3x, and then minus 14. So that's the first step. The second step is always divide by the number in front of y. So we're going to divide by 7 to everything. All right, now with this being said, I'm going to switch over to Desmos for a second. So I'm going to try to have a link in our assignments where you can get the Desmos calculator. And but for right now, if you ever need Desmos, what you need to do is just go to open up a new tab. So I'm going to go open up a new tab here, and I'm going to type in Desmos. So Desmos. And then you can see it says Desmos calculator. Now you could type in calculator as well, but it's so popular, Desmos calculator pops right up. And then it's usually this first thing, this graphing calculator. All right, so anytime you have a fraction, now this isn't perfect. It's not as good as the Inspire. So once we get the Inspire calculator on our computers, you're going to want to use it. So here's what we're going to do. Remember, a fraction bar is nothing but division. So you're going to hit this little button right here that says Show Keypad. And we're going to type in 3 divided by 7. And you can see it types it in as a fraction. Now, if it gives you a decimal, we are just going to stay with this 3 over 7. Okay? So it gives me a decimal. We're just going to keep 3 over 7. So right here, I'm just going to keep the y equals, then we're going to keep the 3 over 7x. Then we're going to type this one in. So I'm going to get rid of that, and we're going to type in negative 14, so minus 14. I typed it twice accidentally. So minus 14 divided by 7. And then you can, so it looks like our fraction right there. We're going to hit enter, and it gives me, I thought that was enter. I'm going to hit enters right here, this blue one. And it gives me negative 2. So then that tells me to write negative 2 right there. And that's going to be our answer right there. So if you're bad with fractions, then you'll type it in and see if it reduces. Now, the Inspire is much better with fractions. And so once y'all get that Inspire, I'm going to teach y'all how to use it. But for right now, I want y'all to see Desmos. And we're going to be using Desmos today quite a bit. So, well, we're going to use some. All right. So I'm going to go back to our assignment. Okay. All right. So I'm going to clear this. And we're going to go down. All right, so once again, we've got an X and a Y. They're not all the same letter. So unfortunately, we got to write this out. So write that down. And we're trying to get Y by itself. All right, so the X and the Y are on a different side than what we're used to, but it's still 2 steps, always 2 steps here. The first thing we're always going to do is get rid of the X. So we're going to add 4X. And add 4x to both sides. So that cancels. We got 4x plus 12 is equal to 3y. So we can never combine these, and we always write the x up front. So that's our first step. Second step is always divide by the number in front of y. And then just to speed stuff up, if we type this in the Desmos, it would give us a decimal, so we're just going to keep it 4 over 3x. If we type this in the Desmos, it would give us 4, so it would become plus 4, and then is equal to y. All right. So when we take a look at this, yesterday we talked about that just because they're word problems doesn't make it hard. And so whenever you get your test, just because it's a word problem, don't just guess C and move on. Now, if there's nothing that makes it easy, then guess C. But varies directly is one of our key words. And so whenever we see varies directly, this is what we did yesterday, we set up a proportion, two fractions equal to each other. So the rule is the first two numbers you see go in the first fraction. So I see a 2 and I see 24. Those are the first two numbers I see. Then you got to label them. So it's 2 what? 2 goals. So we're going to put a G right there. And 24 what? 24 shots. So I'm going to put an S. So this means that goals go on top and shots go on the bottom. This helps me now decide where to put this third number of 5 goals. Goals goes on top, so we're going to put 5 on top, and then the other numbers just X. So now we can do our butterfly. So 5 times 24 is 120. And 2 times X becomes 2X. And then the rule is we just divide by whatever's in front of the X. So divide by 2, and we get 60 is equal to X. All right. So now we're going to be showing you how you can do equations in the calculator. Now, in order to pass this test, to me, I'm going to make sure that whenever I do basic equations, I'm always going to put them in the calculator. I'm not going to work them out by hand. So I know we've been working them out by hand. But when you work them out by hand, it's really easy to make a mistake. So let me clear this real quick, and I'm going to go down. All right, so I'm going to start with number 10, okay? And I'm going to go out of order, and you'll see why here in a second. So we're going to go and we're going to type this into the Desmos calculator. And I'm going to type it in, except instead of using a K, I'm going to have to use an X because they don't have K in the Desmos. All right, so we're going to go to Desmos here, and we're going to type this problem in. So I'm going to get rid of this right here. All right, so we're going to type in minus 5. Oh, I got something in the way. So minus 5 equals, and here's the equal sign right here, minus 3. Now remember, a fraction bar, plus. A fraction bar is nothing but division. So we're going to put K divided by, and it knows that it's supposed to be a fraction bar there, 5. So this is our question number 10 right here. All right. So then you're going to hit enter, and enter is right here, this blue button. Now, it doesn't look like anything happens, but I'm going to zoom out. So over here is your zoom in and zoom out buttons. So zoom out, I think, is the minus. So that's minus. Yep. Now, notice when I zoom out, it's kind of hard to see right here, but there's a green line. I'm going to change the color. To change the color, you can hold down on this, and it'll pop up. Let's change it to a color that sticks out a little bit more. So red. So right here, you can see this red line, okay? And I'm going to hit enter. Oh, we already hit enter. Sorry. I'm going to go look right here. What number is that crossing at right there? You can put your mouse over it, and it'll even pop up. It says -10. And guess what? The answer to our question is -10, just where it crosses the x-axis. And so without having to work anything out, let me get this down real quick, sorry. I'm gonna go back to this. So without having to work anything out, we type this into the Desmos, and we know our answer is now K is equal to -10. And all you got to do is type this in correctly. So a really, really cool feature here, okay? So when you take your test on Wednesday and you see an equation, you know, I don't want you to work it out where you might make a mistake. I want you to go type that into Desmos, okay? All right. And then, of course, when we get the Inspire, now you won't have the Desmos on the STAR test. The only reason that we're using Desmos is because we're doing it online. All the kids in class get the calculator. So once y'all get the Inspire calculator, then you're going to have to use that Inspire calculator, okay? All right. So we're going to skip to question 12 now. And on question 12, you can see this is a nasty, nasty equation right here. Look at that. That sucker's huge. But we're going to get to plug this in. So we're going to go to Desmos. I'm going to get rid of this one because I don't want that one in the way. And I'm going to plug this in. Now, I know you may not be able to see it, but I've got it right here. So you're going to type in, sorry, something in the way. 0.3 parentheses. Now, what stinks about this is that, oh, you know what you might be able to do is to pull the tab off and then type this in. If you pull the tab off, you might be able to see your picture. Other than that, you may have to go back and forth or write the equation down on a sheet of paper and then type it in because it's kind of long. All right, plus 3, close parentheses. And you got to be careful here and type this in exactly right. If you don't type it in right, it's going to give you the wrong answer. Minus 0.2x. Nope, I typed it in wrong. Parentheses and then x. Minus 3 minus 1.8. And so here we've got this huge equation and we hit enter and it gives us the answer right there. Okay. And so if you need to zoom in, then hit the plus sign and you can zoom in and it'll even put -4 right there for you. Okay. But you can always just hover over it and it'll pop up that -4 right there. So it's just where it crosses the x-axis. Okay, so wherever it touches the x-axis is your answer. So we'll go back to our worksheet. Because you're taking this on the computer, you will not have to do a griddable. It will just have a bunch of boxes and you'll type the negative in and then 4. So they will not have these griddables right here. It'll just be boxes. And you'll type the negative in the first box and then 4. All right, so like I said, our Inspire is better than this Desmos right here. And here's the weakness in the Desmos. So I'm gonna go type this in real quick, number 11. I know we're going out of order now. But I'm gonna go back to Desmos and I'm gonna type in question 11. And here's the weakness of the Desmos. So when I type this in, so 4 parentheses x minus 6. All right, so let's see, where was I? Okay, minus 6, close parentheses, equals, and I know this takes a second, but to get this right, we need to do this. So 2x plus 12. All right, so you type this in and you hit enter and nothing pops up. So what do? We zoom out. So minus is a zoom out. So I'm zoom out, zoom out. Oh, I still got that -4 there. There is no line here. Look, there's nothing there. We can keep going out, keep going out. There's no line there. So this right here, if you remember the other day, we had an answer that was no solution. And so when you type it in and no line appears, then it's either going to be no solution or it's going to be all real numbers. And unfortunately, this calculator doesn't handle this very well. And so we actually have to go back. And I'm going to give you a little trick here. So at this point, if this is no solution, then it means all the x's have disappeared. So I want us, when there's parentheses, we got to do mountaintops, but just do mountaintops with the numbers. So 4 to -6 will give me a -24. And 2 to 12 will give me a +24. So you ask yourself, does -24 equal +24? Are these the exact same? No. And so if they're not the exact same, then we do no solution. And I know that's kind of weird, and you're more than welcome to try to work all that out. But in the end, if nothing else, if you type this into Desmos and no line pops up, you know it's either no solution or all real numbers. And so if nothing else, you got a 50-50 shot at getting it right. Okay, but the key to that is go look at your numbers. And if the numbers themselves don't match, it's no solution. So let's look at one that's going to be all real numbers. So number 11 was no solution. And then the last one today, not too far, was number 9. I'm going to tell you if we plug this in, nothing would pop up. So go look at just your numbers. We got 15 and we got 3 times 5 is 15. Does 15 equal 15? Yes. So this would be all real numbers. All right. So, Monica, if you want to unmute yourself for a second. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay, there you go.
There we go.
I did it.
All right. So, did you understand that Desmos pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you take this test, one of the things that I'm going to tell you is you always go do the easy ones first. And with this calculator, every time that we see an equation, you should be able to type it in and either get an answer, or if it doesn't show up anything, then you know it's all real numbers or no solution. And so that should pick up a whole bunch of easy questions on this test. I think that'll make it to where it's just a whole lot easier, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so I want to show you something real quick, and if this is an issue, then we want to make sure that you know what to do. So let me clear this real quick. So on today's assignment, I don't know if you saw this or not, but it says read these instructions for the Unit 1 test on Wednesday. So next Wednesday, we're taking a test, and it's going to be online. So I'm going to click on this real quick. So when you, whenever you take the Unit 1 test, you must sign on during the period that you're in class. Okay? Well, this might be a problem. I don't know if it is or not for you. But if it is, then you need to email me and let me know so we can set up something so that you have a time to take your test, okay?
Okay.
Or maybe you think, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to be fine. And then the day of the test, something happens, then quickly email me so that we can set something up. The second thing is that you got to have your camera on, which you do anyways, but you got to have your camera on while you're taking the test, okay? And then the test will be online. We are going to create a video that shows you how to log on to the test and what the test will look like and stuff like that, so that you'll be familiar with it.
Okay.
But so I know it'll be different, but if there's any issues, you'll be online, and it'll either be me or Coach Shavers. I don't think you've ever met Coach Shavers, but if you ever come to class, Coach Shavers is in our class. And so one of us will be online with you, and we can help you if you got questions on how to take the test. We're not allowed to help like on actual questions, like how do you do number 3? But like I said, you can go through and if you need help logging on, we'll be able to help you. Okay.